Hey, what's up? This is Martin G. I'm a freelance illustrator, designer, art director, animator person based in New York. And formerly, I was a senior art director at Time Magazine. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, the information's all right there. You could stalk me if you want. So this talk is called Work in Progress. And this is a thing where if you're on Instagram or Twitter, most artists and illustrators and designers post work in progress. So we're all fans of process. I've done this talk for a while now, and work in progress is also a part of my life. I've gone through like a lot of stuff, and it just makes all perfect sense. So here we go. So your life, or my life, everybody's lives. It's you go from A to B. You're born and you die, and there's all this stuff in between, this big mess. And it's this big line, and you have different paths and different things you like. So this my main path or my main quest in this video game of life is drawing. Drawing has always been my thing, and so I majored in illustration. Sometime in college, I got into design because I fell in love with journalism and the school paper. And then throughout your life, you're going to have all these different side quests or different challenges, and you'll occasionally have different breakthroughs that kind of set you to the next level. And again, it's all one big mess. And let's try to sort it out. My main path is illustration. It's like my main quest, my video game. And so here's one of my earlier pieces. Don't do the math, okay? Don't figure out how old I am, all right? And here's my stuff from college. I was not a good painter. I was a real painter. So I've been told I'm a better drawer, and to this day, it's still true. I'm always drawing in my sketchbook, and that is definitely my strength. So this was an X Files assignment from a conceptual class. We had to pick a sport, illustrate the word that describes it. So my word was leverage. So after college, I was a design student of the '90s, and a lot of my work got darker, more Photoshop driven, based on like my favorite artist, Dave McKean. I was looking at magazines like Raygun that pretty much changed my life. So that was kind of like the direction I was going. And I feel like, you have your styles and they all have to come naturally. And this is just kind of like where I was, where my head was in the '90s. This was a breakthrough piece for me because this was something that was in my head, in my sketchbook, that ended up looking like the final. So that's kind of like a rare thing for that to happen. So here I'm combining photos, acrylic paint, packaging tape, Photoshop, 3D elements like branches and staples and whatnot. This was a cool piece. And then from there, you go on to the next level or to the next step or whatever that may be. I keep doing personal projects too. That's just stuff that kind of keeps me sane. So I do like portrait series with all the textures I have. This is pre iPhone where I have a bazillion textures, and I don't do this anymore because my current style is more flat vector. I try to push the angles, I try to push the gestures, I try to push the anatomy, and they all tend to have a pop culture geekiness to it. So there's stuff from like RoboCop, superheroes, cats and robots, and monkeys. This is a piece I did for Time almost a year ago. So this is kind of like where I'm headed. This is where my head's at. I'm trying to, I don't know, push things. I'm a better drawer than painter. My drawings are better than my concepts and my narratives. So that's something I'm still working on. So that's still, again, work in progress. And if you want to see this illustration time lapse, it's on my site from start to finish. And so another breakthrough doesn't have to be your own work. It's also the things you see, like I saw Reagan issue 11 that changed my life. This is a book that I got on my red egg ginger party when I was, I don't know, a month to 3 months old. Chinese people don't do baby showers, they do parties after you're born. It's a little more practical, We're practical kind of people, I believe. And so this is literally my first book. It's still my favorite because it taught me infographics and humor and how things worked in a subliminal way. I was enjoying this as a kid's book, and to this day, it's still very influential. Like, I know how houses work. I know that ships are run by mice. To this day, whenever I'm in a bad mood, I always turn to page 77 where I see this pig get dumped on. It's funny. It's this, I don't know, it's just, this is kind of like where I got a lot of my influence. And this is like a random thing too. If you Google this, someone did an analysis of all the Richard Scarry books, and there's a lot of race and class in all of them. Because if you notice here, you have pigs and dogs doing like the blue collar work, and you have cats here too. But the cats and rabbits are generally the white collar people, or the white collar jobs. They're higher class. They're the bankers and the, I don't know. It's kind of crazy to see this. And if you look at the edited versions of the books, there is more gender equality where the father rabbit helps now in the kitchen. It's kind of wild. But anyway, Richard Scarry, awesome. What I'm going to do in this talk is discuss like mental health too, and how as illustrators we draw the worlds we want to live in. So this is the only place where we have control of things. Like, while the world is on fire, we can draw cats powering the earth with their poo, or it's something like just happens naturally. But then when you think about it, it's all related to our mental health and how we see things. Here's another piece for Magnificent Corpse. It's a project on Instagram where it's a story told one illustration at a time. And this is number 37, I believe. And here, I'm drawing a person in control of a world, literally walking over the world and holding mountains and doing her thing. And I think that's just the beauty of illustration and beauty of drawing and creating things and constantly making things. The person who also helped me with that was Ed Emberley. I forgot who this person was for decades until I was working on something. I go, oh my gosh, I remember this guy now. He basically taught me how to do vector art, how to draw alligators with triangles and circles and squares, and it's essentially the same thing. I'm still doing this. And again, I'm not a good painter. If you need a toaster, I could draw you a really, really good toaster. Again, like my narratives, my concepts are kind of, I'm working on it. I'm in progress. And this is something for the Boston Globe. I just love drawing stuff. So, yay, drawing is cool. So, this talk is kind of like your standard dog and pony show. This is my resume, this is my life, this is my work, blah, 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 blah. But I've always wanted to come at this from a mental health lens. And again, this is the scribble, this is in our lives. And we use art and creating to kind of stay sane, to stay alive, So for some TMI about myself, 2017 was like a really year for me. It was after the election, so I was suicidal. Day after, I had people telling me, "Oh, everything's gonna be fine," blah blah blah. 3 years later, I'm like, you, this is up. And then as a person of color, I could be at a loss for words. I'm like, this is like screwed up. Every single day is screwed up. There's a picture of me. This is me every day at my dinner table, just having my morning coffee, reading the news, and going, holy. I'm sorry for all the cursing. Yeah, so the news kills me every day. And then 2017, I was also separated, like literally the first day of the year, and eventually divorced. So that's complicated, but then at the same time, I feel you take that opportunity when you're separated, you're supposed to like make yourself better, or be a better person, and I still feel like it did help a little bit, and also being divorced was kind of like the best outcome out of all this. So in a way, I'm better off, right? And then I've started taking antidepressants for the first time. I just realized I had to do this. I've been depressed my entire life. So I was on bupropion. Wellbutrin is the brand name. And currently I'm on Lexapro. And, TMI. And then my anxiety has kind of gone up. Like whenever I see like a red hat down the street, I get panicky. I'm like, I'm gonna get the beaten out of me. Or I buy tickets for a concert or to an event, and the night of, I go, I'm just gonna go home because I can't deal. So I've been antisocial, and with all this stuff going on, and also working at the time, I would tweet fucking nightmare every single day. Now it's kind of like every other day, where I'm reading the news. I get to a certain story or headline, and I just go, oh, fucking nightmare. So hey, that's me on social media. Don't get crazy on me. So yeah. But the crazy thing is like my life is okay. So I talked to my psychiatrist. We're saying things like it's situational and not chemical, and my life is cool. I'm like staying at home. I draw all day. I'm making stuff. I'm painting. I'm sketching. I'm building Lego robots. I'm with my cats all day, Lady Gucci and Lady Echo. And it's cool. Everything's cool, but everything else just sucks, man. So I'm gonna talk about how I deal with like my anxiety and my depression through art and constantly making stuff. So TMI, there you go. So thanks for listening. Thanks for checking this out up to this point. I'm not gonna give away the whole dog and pony show. So if you want to check out the rest of this talk, give me an email. I would be glad to talk to your class, to talk to your company, to talk to your conference, talk to your birthday party, whatever you want. Just give me a shout, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Martin G. Signing out.